Welcome to Ghoulish Gab, always spooky, always under 7 minutes. Today we are doing another Hidden Gems video. This one is about this decade that we chose for this one is the 1980s. Kayla, what do you got to start us off with today?
So this one I didn't actually watch until a couple of years ago when Sean showed it to me. I didn't even know it existed. Once Bitten from 1985.
Jim
It's
Carrey?
a horror comedy with Jim Carrey. Yep. Uh this vampire known as the Countess needs to drink the blood of a virgin to like stay young and beautiful forever. And the joke being that it's impossible to find a virgin in Los Angeles in the 80s until she runs into Jim Carrey's character who wants to bang, but the girlfriend wants to wait. And wackiness ensues. There's a really funny scene at the very beginning, bringing an ice cream truck to like a lover's lane to try to like sell ice cream, and everybody's like, "This is a stupid. What are you doing?" Like everybody's fucking in their car. It's full of that kind of humor, and I love it. It's amazing, and I didn't even know it existed until a couple of years ago.
That one is pretty funny. I also think it's definitely worth a watch. I have a vampire one I'm going to start out with today too. It's just simply titled Vamp from 1986. It's essentially you have a bunch of frat boys who are looking for they go out to hit up some sleazy bars and stuff, and an area they haven't been in. They end up at a strip club. The strip club ends up being a feeding ground for vampires. So, the vampires are the strippers and et cetera, et cetera. And this is where they're getting their food from. And Grace Jones is in this. If you remember Grace Jones, she's kind of the lead attraction vampire there. And she is killer in that movie. It's awesome. Of course, dealing with a bunch of frat boys, you've got some of your typical 80s problematic language and things. But all that aside, it's a great 80s vampire flick that doesn't get enough attention.
Frat boys head into a killer strip club sounds like a fun time to me.
Yeah.
I've got one that I also hadn't seen until recently. Uh, The Hitcher
Mm, no.
from 1986. Again, I didn't even know it existed. I like Rutger Hauer, and it stars Rutger Hauer and C. Thomas Howell. And it's just kind of like a classic murderous hitchhiker story, but they add a twist on it. And you know what? I was going to not spoil it, but it's a really old movie, so I'm going to spoil it. Basically, you've got your standard hitchhiker creepy story, but it turns out now the hitchhiker like frames the main character for a bunch of his murders and is like he's being chased by the police and like stalked by the killer, and it's really good. And Rutger Hauer is a great creepy character. Like he's good at playing creepy characters.
Yeah, definitely. And it's another one I would also say check that out if you haven't seen it. I got something pretty trashy for my second pick here. Street Trash from 1987. This is a classic melt movie. If you want to see some good melting, some good practical effects where people are melting, you
I was
definitely
wondering what the
check
fuck
this
you meant
out.
by that.
I don't know, it's kind of a melt movie. I don't know what else to say there. Um, it starts out there's a liquor store. A guy finds this old crate of wine or something. Who knows how old it is? It's called Tenafly Viper. He finds it, just throws it on the shelf. Some of the winos come in and are taking it, and it ends up being, a very toxic brew. It's causing all sorts of melting and mutations amongst the homeless people. And a lot of this takes place, at a junkyard, and there's a lot of weird stuff. One of the best things about it, though, is there's a scene where somebody's penis has come off, and it is being used, thrown around in a game of catch. And I don't want to give away too much about that. It's a classic scene. Uh, it it's a fun movie. I've watched it many times. Watch it with your friends. Get some popcorn and
And watch, I thought you were
fun.
gonna say it about like the penis melts, and you're like, it's really graphic, very
No,
detailed, perfect. Mwah, chef's kiss.
no, they play a nice game of catch with it.
Um, so this movie I had to look up because I remember watching it and being scared by it when I was younger, but I couldn't remember the name. And I don't know if you've ever seen it. Have you ever watched Madman from 1981?
Yeah, you know, a very, very long time ago.
So from looking it up, it seems like it came out around the same time as like the Friday the 13th movies and The Burning, and it just got completely overshadowed. But it's a slasher film with an axe-wielding murderer named Madman Mars, and he gets summoned by this group of campers who are like telling urban tales around a campfire. And the whole idea being like, you're not supposed to know if he's real or not because he's just supposed to be an urban legend. And it was based on the I again looking it up online, it looks like it was based on the legend of the Cropsy Maniac. And I haven't watched it in years and years, but I remember it scaring the shit out of me when I was younger. So I'm going to include it on the list. So take that with a grain of salt, I guess. But I am going to watch it later, and everybody else should, and let me know what you think because it's available on YouTube for free right now.
Nice. I definitely owe that one a rewatch as well too. I remember that from like the VHS rental days, seeing that one on the shelf. So the last one I got for today is Dead Heat from 1988. This is kind of like a buddy cop zombie movie, which it works out great. It's also one of Vincent Price's last appearances in a film. Um, but yeah, it's really funny. I mean, the horror aspects of it are great. You got a couple great creature monster things and the zombie stuff. The two cops start kind of going after this gang, and they feel like that these gang members are getting shot, in these big shootouts and stuff, and they're just not dying. And so they investigate it further, and of course they discover the reanimation zombie type thing, and one of the cops dies, and they use it to help him, and it's just really fun. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's got Joe Piscopo in it and Treat Williams as well. Some 80's staples. But yeah, in the comments, go ahead and tell us some of your 80's hidden gems. Tell us if you've seen some of the ones we've talked about and what you think of them. Bye.